the last 12 months, I've built 5 different AI products, from a LinkedIn writing service to a YouTube outlier finding tool to a content repurposing tool to a bunch of internal tools that we use at our team at Castos to run the business and delight customers every day. And in that time, I've learned a ton about what works and what doesn't work. And in this video, I'm going to share 5 things I've learned about building AI tools for my business with you, so you can avoid the mistakes that I've made and you can build better, more productive, more realistically kind of useful tools for yourself, your business, your team, and your customers, so you can get ahead in life. Hey, if we haven't met yet, my name's Craig Hewitt, and on this channel, I share all about AI, how it's transforming our lives, our work, and kind of the society that we live in a very positive way, I believe. I believe AI is going to be a hugely positive thing for the future. There's probably going to be bumps along the way, but I believe that it is absolutely going to be a force for good if we know how to use it. And so my mission here is to help you learn how to use it the right way to improve kind of everything about your life. And now let's start with the first thing I learned, which is probably the most important. And it is, I often started with, hey, what can AI do? And how do I build a product or solve a problem around that? And this is really the wrong way to look at it, because the answer is AI can do literally almost everything these days. It doesn't mean that you should build a tool that AI can already do, because I think one of the big risks that we all have of building these thin AI wrapper tools, where your application or your software or your mobile app is just like a thin layer on top of ChatGPT or Claude or whatever, the risk there is these frontier models like Claude and ChatGPT and Google Gemini are just going to be able to do these natively. So any kind of advantage you might have is going to get eroded over time. Instead, I think the much more durable thing for us as business people and product people is, what problem am I trying to solve? What is the problem that people in the world have that is really super painful, that they are willing to pay money for or are already paying money for, with a solution that they don't like? If I find those kind of 3 things and I deeply understand those, then I can say, okay, I know how I can solve this problem. How can AI help me solve this problem? And truth be told, AI is not the kind of answer for a lot of things when it comes to building software these days. It might be that your application doesn't have a lot of AI built into it, but AI just helps you build the solution. I think that's perfectly reasonable. The common phrase in this world is jobs to be done. So jobs to be done being a kind of marketing term for, like, hey, when someone comes to your solution, what are they looking to hire your solution to do for them? So you're a kayak.com maybe. What's the jobs to be done of someone going to Kayak or Expedia? Well, they want to go on vacation and they want to find a good place to stay and a good way to get there. That's the jobs to be done. Or for us at Outlier, so outlier.so, one of the tools we're building, the jobs to be done of Outlier is YouTube creators finding their next big hit, their next big video idea. So it's really straightforward, I think, to create a YouTube video like this. But the harder thing is, like, what do I create a video about? How aligned is that with, like, my audience and other channels, and have other people created similar videos that have done well? So that's the jobs to be done of Outlier. So I would ask you, like, as you're looking to build a solution in a place, what is the job that someone wants to hire your tool for? So mistake number 2 that I made, and I want to preface this by saying, like, I am absolutely like an AI maximalist. I think it probably came in the intro bit that, like, I believe AI is a huge positive force in the world, but it is not a panacea. It is not solving every problem there is. It's solving a lot of them, but humans absolutely still have to be in the loop on almost everything that we do. You know, I like this kind of framework of, like, 10-80-10. Dan Martell kind of popularized this, or I heard it from him first, so, like, credit where it's due. 10 is me or you saying, this is what I want to do, back to jobs to be done. This is the problem we're solving, this is who we're solving it for, and this is how we're going to solve it. Cool. You spit that into a Claude Code or a ChatGPT or whatever your tool is. It does the 80%, and then you bring it home with that last 10%. I think that's like QA testing in software. That's reviewing copy in a marketing sense. It's a salesperson getting on the sales call once AI has scraped the leads and put them together and did a big old cold email sequence. The human has to get on the phone to talk to the customer to close that deal. So 10, planning, direction, and intentionality, 80% done by AI, and then the last 10% done by humans again. I think if you adopt this mindset, you'll be less frustrated with AI and you'll actually get more done. So, hey guys, I just want to pause here real quick to say, like, if you're getting value out of this, if you find this interesting and want to get more like this in the future, hit that like button, subscribe if you could. It really means a lot to me, but it also sends good signals to YouTube to say, like, hey, Craig knows what he's talking about. This is valuable, and I want to get more stuff like this, and other people probably do too. So it would mean the world to me. Thanks so much. Okay, the third mistake I learned, and really what is honestly kind of held me back from going all in on any one product direction, is the foundational models being able to do almost everything really, really well already, and that will just get better. And so what I don't want you to do is say, like, hey, I'm going to build this kind of thin wrapper again that ChatGPT will just do in the future. And I think the big risk here isn't ChatGPT at all. It's Google. So if you're building products for business people, think of the products that Google has killed just in the last 6 months. I'll just name them. Google Opal has essentially killed things like N8N or Lindy. Maybe not killed them, but has really affected them. Calendly, Google has its own calendaring tool now. Nano Banana is killing Figma and Photoshop. Those are just three I list like off the top of my head. Those are massive companies, right? And so like if you're thinking about building a product or a solution, just think like these are enormous companies with either in Google's case, a lot of money already, or in OpenAI and Anthropic's case, they have raised a ton of money. And you know they're going for every kind of aspect of your life that they can to put AI in your hands. And again, I think that's a really good thing. But I don't want you to get confused and say like, hey, I can just kind of pinch out this little aspect of the market and kind of carve my foothold there, because the foundational models and these big companies are just going to own everything in the future. Okay, mistake number 4 is one I almost don't include here because I'm ashamed to admit it, because like I've been a founder for 10 years and I run $1 million SaaS business in Castos, but I have fallen victim to the trap of building a big old huge product first and then thinking about validating it and getting early customers and really having conversations with people to say like, hey, is this going to solve the problem that you have? And I think I fall into this trap, and you may too, because you are the customer. You are the potential kind of perfect fit person for that jobs to be done that we were talking about before. And if that's the case, you really need to go out and talk to human beings about like, hey, this is what I'm thinking about. This is how we're thinking about solving this problem. Would this be helpful? And if they nod their head and say yes, say, cool, here's a link to a Stripe checkout page. It's $100 a month. Would you please pay for the first month and I'll let you know when it's ready? Then if they won't do that, I think you need to go back to the drawing board and say like, hey, am I solving a painful enough problem? Am I doing it in an eloquent way? And am I approaching the right type of person to buy my solution? There's a lot to this validation step. And I think it depends on the market that you're in, how you solve this. But I don't want you to get kind of fooled into the trap of like, oh, I can just build stuff with Claude Code or Cursor or whatever, and it's so cool, and it's a big dopamine rush, because it really is, and I totally get it. And I've spent way too many nights building tools that have never seen the light of day. You know, I mentioned some of the tools that we've launched, but there's a lot more that have never seen the light of day and just get deleted. And so I've wasted hours on this, and I don't want you to. So go talk to customers, validate, pre-sell, get some kind of buy-in, preferably with dollars, before you get too far down the line. I know with AI, this is a hard kind of balance these days because customers' expectations of solutions is much higher than it was a few years ago. But as much as you can, validate things to make sure you're on the right path with actual customers. Okay, mistake number 5 is the trust gap. And this one is maybe the biggest of all, because the problem I think we're in as a society, and AI has just made this worse and amplified this, is we're in a trust recession. We're in a situation where when you go on Twitter or Instagram or Facebook or whatever, or the internet or YouTube, not YouTube, we're safe here. I don't know if you can hear the dog barking, but that tells you that I'm not AI right now. That like, how do I know that this is real? Goes through our minds all the time. I hear it from my kids. I hear it from my spouse. How do I know that this is not AI? Is the question that everyone asks. And that's what your customers are going to ask too. And so you have to ask yourself as you're validating and understanding jobs to be done and, getting pre-sales and all these things, like how can I overcome the trust gap that is very present in every single industry and everybody is fighting against this? I think the answer to that depends on the market you're in and who you're selling to and what your business model is and a lot of those kinds of things. But I will say that one of the pendulum swings of AI is that in-person, authentic, and if you're virtual, like multimedia content is the answer. So if you can be in person and go sell to local businesses, I would do that. If you charge enough to go in person to conferences to sell to people at conferences, I would do that. If you're doing online kind of content and marketing, I would lean very heavily into YouTube and just video content because it's just more believable. People believe video and in-person stuff more than they do text because text is so easy to create with AI and to manipulate. So these are 5, there's probably more, but these are the 5 big ones of the mistakes that I've made in building dozens of products over the last 12 months. And as we approach the end of the year here, I just wanted to share these with you so that as we go into 2026, you're armed with a better way to use AI to move yourself and your business forward. And if you're like, hey, this is really cool, I want more of this, I do some consulting on an individual basis with companies for them to go from like their legacy situation to a more AI forward business. And so if you're a founder, you're an executive, and you want to reach out, craighewitt.com, reach out there. Would love to chat and see how I can help you navigate your business through this AI transition.